Welcome to our podcast, Living by the Mantras, where I'm your host, Colleen Souza, along with
Brian Souza. Great to be here.
my better half of 36 years. Hey, we are here to talk about living by the mantras is living by quotes, verses, ideas, repetitive phrases that help to shape our mindset. And it's based on my book, Living by the Mantras, Common Sense Wisdom for an Extraordinary Life, which you can find on Amazon.
Everywhere books are sold.
Everywhere books are sold. You can go to livingbythemantras.com to learn more about that. And we are so glad you joined us. We are taking a look in this series of 4 episodes. Mantra 16, get the job, then learn the job. And in essence, it comes from, in our family, when we'd say, get the job, then learn the job, we'd basically be saying, don't have fear. You can do it. It comes from the story in my life when my kids were very, very young, when I took on my very first full-time teaching position in the district where I spent 20 years. And I got the opportunity to teach in a high-tech position back in the day when there wasn't a lot of technology. There wasn't a lot of technology around. And I had the opportunity. I said yes, and I learned every night before the kids did. I got the job, then I learned the job because I saw the opportunity, and I overcame the fear of not being the smartest one in the room all the time. And so that is where this comes from. But really, fear will keep us from becoming who we want to be sometimes. Would you agree, Brian?
Yeah, it's stymied. You get stymied with fear. It's like the deer in the headlights, right? What should I do next?
So today, this episode's called What Do We Fear? And so, of course, we have some thoughts and ideas on some of the biggest things that we as humans tend to fear that keep us from moving forward. And the first one that we're going to chat about today is loss. I think everybody fears losing something. And when they think about making changes in their life, moving forward in their life, trying something new, the fear that attaches itself is, well, what will I lose if I do this, if I try this? Some of those fears, like I'll start with, we fear losing friends. If we make a decision to move to a new place or try to be a stronger, different person, well, I got to keep being this person because this is where my friend group is. What else do we fear of losing?
You fear losing your job. You feel losing relationships. You feel losing the opportunities.
Okay, job. Let's fear of losing a job.
Yeah.
If you stand up to something. Okay, let's talk about why you might lose a job. You shared in the last episode the day that our son Tim, who's our oldest, was born, and you had to tell your boss, sorry, I need a day because I've been up for 36 hours while my wife's been in labor. I can't come in today, and he was told he would lose his job if he didn't show up. He didn't.
Well, so those fear muscles are built over time. Because, you fight against the fear. And can I share the other story when I was in college? Yeah?
Sure.
All right.
I'm not sure what story you're going to share.
So I was in college, and I said to my manager, hey, we were helping with youth. And I said, I
know what story you're going to share.
I really want to have Sundays off because I want to be able to help with a youth group. And he said, well, choose between your youth group or work. And I'm on my own, 18 years old, paying my own rent, taking care of everything, eating bologna sandwiches. That's all I can afford. And I said, that's a really easy decision. I choose the youth group. He goes, you don't have a job then. I go, okay, that's no problem. I can find another one.
Yeah.
So that built a little bit of muscle to go find another job. And when the other story that I faced later on when we were married and had become a father, same basic scenario back in the 90s, had stronger muscles to say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and do what I need to do. You know, do what you need to do.
Well, sometimes it's very frightening, and we have a lot of responsibilities, but sometimes it's so unhealthy where we're working. So the fear of making those changes could be the fear of losing a job. How about losing our health?
Absolutely. Should I do this? Should I do that? Can I do this? We're getting a little older, approaching our 60s. And so we think about this a lot.
Yeah, that's a big fear. Fear of your reputation.
Should I say this out loud? Whoops, I was thinking that, but I actually said it out loud.
Well, plus sometimes maybe we're in a group of friends. It goes back to the fear of losing friends that we know it's time to make a change with or change out of, but we also fear what that will look like and where do we start again and what will they be saying about me, or taking a stand at work or defending somebody that you feel is not being treated right. It's that fear of what your reputation might be. there's a lot of things we might lose that I think keep us from moving forward sometimes.
Absolutely.
And
Fear of loss is a big one.
And I think that sometimes what we lose might not be as special or potentially big as what we might gain. So so there is that fear. And sometimes we have to wrap our mind around it. You have to be careful. We're not, saying go be reckless, but
no,
sometimes you have to really take a look at what it is you're losing.
Yep.
And whether or not you're really truly going to lose it. Because that's another thing. Sometimes fear is irrational and we think we're going to lose something. And we discover that if we move forward and do that, we're going to have the support of friends or the support of family or the support of our manager at work, or it might end up getting us a promotion where we don't lose income, but we gain it, or giving ourselves a better reputation. But fear puts these goggles
right
on
so
us.
remember when we were kids, when we had those little cartoons, you've got those two little cartoons on your shoulders, right?
Yeah, the good
no, you can't do it.
Yeah.
All is possible. You can't do it. All those kinds of things. And so somehow we always feed that you can't do it, little guy, more than we feed that you can do it, little guy.
Absolutely.
And, at the end of the day, whichever one you feed is the one that's going to be the loudest.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so loss is a big part of what we fear. How about this one? The fear of change.
Ooh.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
So when we first got married and we first had Tim, there used to be, going out to dinner when we were young and broke. We were young and broke. We
got married in 1989, by the way.
Yeah, well, we were still in college. And so we were extraordinarily broke. But the bottom line is we would not go out to eat very often. And when we did,
3 years later?
Yeah, when we did go out to eat, we'd always go to Taco Bell because at the time they had that. Now, those of you that are younger that are listening, or how nostalgic this moment will be, the 59, 79, 99-cent menu.
Yep.
So if we had $5 extra, we could each get a bean burrito.
And they created refillable sodas.
We could share a soda and refill it, and maybe we could each get a taco too, depending on how much we had.
Yep.
But I remember
we open our wallet. How hungry are we?
How hungry are we? I feel like a little bit of water with my dinner tonight. The bottom line was they had this slogan for the longest time at Taco Bell, and it was "Change is good."
Yeah.
And I can't remember why, but that's what made the Taco Bell story come up. But change is good. And then around that same time in our life, the Lion King. Our son loved the Lion King. He loved everything about it. And the old wise Rafiki, he wasn't a monkey. He was
I can't remember.
He wasn't a baboon either. He was the monkey guy.
Yeah.
But he had a stick and he had to hit Simba, the up and coming Lion King, over the head and tell him change was good. So in our household, that was a phrase quite a bit of the time. And we fear change. Why do people fear change?
Well, because they live life in the comfort zone. You think about, I'm putting my hands together in a circle if you can't see it on the podcast. We live life in comfort, right? So we do everything and all of our decisions so that we live in this little comfortable life of circle. And really life is lived outside of our comfort zone. That new job, that new opportunity, that new relationship, becoming a parent, all those things are outside of our comfort zone. But as humans, we want to live in this little comfort zone of life. And that's really where we shouldn't be living. We should be living outside of our comfort zone.
Well, and the truth is, we fear change because we're comfortable. I like that he said that, living inside that comfort zone. I mean, there's a place for traditions. There's a place for repeating experiences. Yeah. But we decided when we got married over 36 years ago that we would live what we called the great adventure. And we have a whole wall dedicated to this inside our house where we have pictures of all the different things we've done with our kids. It's this huge mural. And the bottom line is trying new things, experiencing new things, and having change happen in your life, it helps you grow. It helps you become.
That's where growth happens.
Yeah, it does. But here's the most ironic part of change. And that is, if you say, I'm going to be stubborn and where I am is safe and I'm going to stay right here and I am not going to be affected by change, therefore I fear nothing, the rest of the world is going to change around you. Therefore, change happens anyways. And I think that's super significant.
That's when you miss opportunity.
Well, our own daughter right now, our youngest, she's kind of going through that phase of life where enough changes happened that she stayed very close to all of her friends here in our hometown.
Mhm.
As she's gone through college, she's had good relationships with this core group of kids that she hung out with in high school. But she's getting to that point. Like, she tried to come at spring break this year. She thought they were all going to do something together. She thought it was communicated. That's why she was coming home. But ultimately, she didn't stay and go to college here in our hometown, the university where everybody else went. And it is just enough change. Lives have changed. And so when things didn't come together and she was a bit frustrated, I told her that's part of life. You have all changed. And so one of the outcomes of change is that things are going to look a little different. And we can't fear it. We just have to embrace it and know her life has gone in some great directions. These kids, their lives have too. Doesn't mean they won't be friends, but they're not going to have that same experience they used to have because they've all begun to change. And it happens naturally. We can't fear it.
Absolutely. We can't do that. And in that change, change and opportunity go hand in hand.
That's true.
And I can't remember who said it, but it says opportunity is missed by most people because it's dressed in overalls and looks like work. So
Thomas Edison, it's on my wall over there. I have a wall of quotes.
Okay.
Thomas Edison, opportunity is missed by most because it's dressed in overalls and looks like work.
Looks like work. And that's when you intentionally choose change, right? You're saying, I'm going to make this opportunity happen, which means you got to step outside the comfort zone, and I'm going to go for that change. And that's where opportunities happen.
Well, and it's where memories happen. It's where fun happens. So when we talk about what do we fear, we can't fear change, or we shouldn't fear change. We need to overcome the fear of change because it's where the adventure lies. And I will share, and people say, okay, you say that, but in my life, I have changed careers 3 times.
Yep.
And there was risk in every one of those changes, but I have grown as a person. I've had newer experiences. We've done better financially because of those changes. Brian's made career changes too. And sometimes it means changing friend groups. Sometimes it means changing locations. But all of those things help us grow and give us new experiences and memories to live by. So change is good. Okay. Another thing that I think a lot of people fear is failure.
I can't do it because I tried. It's kind of like, we'll go back to the bike riding example. Oh, I fell down once.
That was on the last episode.
The last episode, we talked about that. So if you're learning how to ride a bike, oh, I fell down, I can't ride a bike. Well, a lot of people actually believe that.
Think as babies. We try to walk the very first time.
I can't walk. I can't figure it out.
We'd be all stomping around on the ground all over the place.
I'd rather crawl my way through life.
I mean, before we know how to limit ourselves in that fear of failure, we overcome them. And walking is a great example when we go from crawling to walking as infants before we understand that we might fail. I think that failure, we talk ourselves into this concept that we can't do something. And if we do it, we might fail. And what will people think? What will people think? I mean, can you think of an example where failure made you stronger, Brian?
I mean, the basic example, being able to jump because kids, we jumped a lot of ramps back in the day, and not every ramp jump was perfect. A lot of times you're going to end up crashing, skinny knees and elbows and things. But I learned over time that, practice makes perfect, right?
Well,
so you do it one time, do it 100 times.
Professionally, I want to take this to the professional level. I can think of so many things we've tried in our business that haven't flown. But, that didn't work. That didn't, we spent money on that and that didn't bring us clients. I mean, when you first started in real estate, I remember you invested in something that you put a lot of hard-earned money into or savings into, and it really didn't pan out.
Those golf course bench, right? Where you have a little advertisement on the golf course's bench. So you're like, when you're golfing, you're not reading the benches. And I was sold the idea like, oh, your clients will love this and they can refer you. And I got 0 referrals. I thought, this is a bad idea. How about I just spend the money advertising houses? Well,
but then over the years, we advertised in this magazine one time. There was that binder phone system we bought at one time that ended up being a big flopping failure.
Lead generation stuff.
So there's things that we try that fail, and it doesn't defeat us. Our business continued to grow. What we did was we'd say, okay, what did we learn from that situation? We'd work harder, make up what we spent, and then do things again. And I know
you pivot and you learn from that, and what works, which is for us was working by referral, word of mouth. right?
Well,
And so the first 5 years, you're trying to figure things out as you go and trying everything. And at the end of the day, you figure out what works and you lean into that.
well, I know, and for anyone that's listening that's in sales, remember when you first graduated, you just started on A in the phone book.
Oh, yeah. So my
He was
degree's in
working-
business finance, and I got hired at a big company that you probably all recognize. And I got a nice, in it, this is back in 80s and 90s, right? Late 80s, early 90s. So having an
1989.
having an office with a big desk was a big deal, and especially if you got a corner office, it was an even bigger deal. Mine was not a corner office. And so my manager walked in, and my job was to set up retirement accounts, right? So
and he's 21 years. He's 21 years old, and
21 years old.
Had such a baby face at the time.
So 21 years old, and we used to have these things
retirement.
before there was a phone like this. We actually had this paper thing called a phone book, and in the phone book,
And the phone had an umbilical cord attached to it. that
had a
you could pick
umbilical
up.
cord attached to the wall. And in the phone book, it had the person's name, it had the person's phone number, and it had the person's address. So you knew exactly where that person lived and where, basically everything about that person. You call them up. So my manager walked in and he goes, "Okay, you're going to make 100 calls a day. Here's a phone book. Start with A." And I remember thinking, that's the training that I'm getting. And you know what? After making 100 phone calls the first day and 100 phone calls the next day and 100 phone calls the next day and making thousands and thousands of phone calls, then I, ended up selling a lot of great stuff. But it is that process of just overcoming the fear.
Even then, there were times where he'd get so excited because he'd get in front of somebody of significance.
Yeah.
And they would look at him, and after he'd went through the whole thing, and he'd think that he was going to make that sale, they'd say, I really want to thank you, but I just don't feel like you have the experience to do this. Those failures did not break him. They just made him stronger. He learned something from every one of those. I'm going to switch it over to, I did a lot of performing. I have a minor in vocal music, performance and conducting.
She
and I
performed
actually,
around the world.
I had a band, and the band didn't perform around the world, but I got to with the university that I went to, I got to sing and perform. But my point is, I would audition for shows growing up. I would audition for things, and sometimes I'd make those performances and I would get a role, and other times I was cut. That was a failure. That didn't create in me. I mean, there's fear every time you get up on a stage. By the way, even the most talented performers out there, and if some are listening, they'll agree to this.
Very true.
They are scared every time they stand up on a stage. Yep. It's a different kind of fear, the more confidence they gain, but there's always a fear of rejection.
Are they going to trip or
rejection?
fall?
No, it's not even that. It's rejection from an audience, rejection from a director. You know you can do it, and you know if they select you, you'll do a great job, but they don't. And that's failure. Every time you put yourself out there, is the audience going to enjoy what you're doing? Are you going to mess up while you're doing it? Are you going to miss a note? Are you going to, whatever it is? But those experiences strengthen you and they build your character. So to fear failure, I think we have to learn to fail forward. And in fact, I have a whole mantra on that, because if we don't, we either win or we learn is that particular mantra in our family. And you'll hear about that at another time, but it's okay to fail, because
Absolutely.
Failure is not something to fear. It's something that makes us stronger. And if we do that careful mitigation of the risks that we take, the failure won't destroy us. It can build us. And so that's really super important. Okay, success. People fear success. What in the world do I mean by that, Brian?
Well, I mean, as people climb the ladder of life and they make bigger decisions and they have bigger promotions and they make more money and have, the things that go along with that, there's a lot that encompasses that.
And I think sometimes we end up with that self-fulfilling prophecy idea. Mm-hmm. We fear that we're not good enough for it, or too much success might make us
scare people away.
Well, I mean, we've had a lot of success. We've had a lot of success in our family. We've had a lot of success financially. And my mom used to have this phrase, people like success, but they don't like successful people.
That's very true.
And you sometimes face it, and it's hard when you're facing it from close friends or from family who, oh, well, you guys can do that because you have money, or you guys can do that because of whatever it is. Oh, your kids are always perfect. Our kids are never perfect.
No.
are raising them and sending them off to college. Our money sometimes feels like it's in a wind tunnel.
Yep.
But the bottom line is we have opportunities that have been provided to us. And we're not going to take a moment and diss that at all. But those opportunities of success, sometimes there's a fear of other people looking down at you or being disgusted by you or being, whatever, them, because you have it. And it doesn't change who you are at the core. And yet you fear, I don't know. I mean,
well, they see the tip of the iceberg. What they don't see is, 22 years of experience of being told, no, you can't be successful. No, if you specialize, you're not going to be successful. No, you're not going to make the sales. That's not going to happen. Or, even speaking specifically about real estate, 85% failure rate. You're not going to be in the top 15%, much less, sell more than, one home a month. Well, guess what, people? We sell between the two of us over 100 homes a year, and we do 10 homes a month. Why is that? How has that happened? It didn't happen today. It didn't happen yesterday. That's 20 years of experience and building upon that experience and learning how to become better and more efficient and help our clients so they love us and refer us to others. And people see the overnight success. They don't see that 20 years that created the overnight success.
Well, and I think, and we can take that from business right down to parenting. We have 3 great kids. Our 3 kids love one another.
Yep.
And they get along really well. And it's very fun. I talked to my son.
They like hanging out together.
Yeah. And I talked to my son this morning and he was telling me something. He's like, yeah, no, I talked to Grace yesterday. And I'm thinking outside of us, they communicate with each other all the time. That didn't happen overnight either.
No.
And that didn't happen by accident. And you don't see the times where we struggled as a family or
Right.
one of the kids was struggling with something in life and we had to help them through that so that they had confidence in themselves, better relationships with their siblings. All of that has been a certain level.
They're in the 20s and 30s right now.
Yeah. Just a certain level of work so that in their adulthood, they had relationships with each other and with us.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes when we fear success, we are thinking that other people are going to judge us because it's too good. And if you know an Eeyore, I have a coffee mug. I wish I had it on.
Who's Eeyore, Colleen?
Eeyore is from Disney, Winnie the Pooh. If you don't happen to know, Eeyore is, oh, woe is me. And
He's a little, what is he?
He's like a donkey.
Like a donkey.
With his tail pinned on. If you don't know Eeyore, then you really need to do some go rent some Disney movies. Oh, you can't rent movies anymore. What am I saying? Go download movies. Boy, that was sure shows my age. Anyways,
check out a book from the
in
library.
the Winnie the Pooh stories, Eeyore is that Debbie Downer. Eeyore is the one that just can't himself have enough good things happen to him to appreciate the good things happening to others.
Life is no good.
Yeah. Now, my favorite character from that series of Winnie the Pooh, I love Pooh Bear as a kid. That was one of my favorite teddy bears. But it's Tigger, because I'm Tigger. I'm a woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. I'm a, bouncy. Yeah, Tigger, if you don't know the character, it's a very happy, positive, and
life is always great.
Life is good. And with that positive attitude, successes happen for Tigger. And so I know that sometimes being Tigger is hard when you're around, this is the fear of success, when you're around a bunch of Eeyores. And so what you have to do is just do your very best to bounce around and rub off on them and not fear success. I think that's important. Now here's the last thing I think that people fear.
Okay.
Well, the last thing that came to my mind in my list, and that is not being good enough, not being capable enough, not being talented enough. We fear the not enough. Why is that a bad thing?
So I'm not trained and I can't do it, those kinds of things?
In general, yeah, like I can't get up there and hang out with those people. I can't, you're sitting there and people are talking at a dinner party you're at, or you get invited to something and you think, I got to stay quiet because my ideas aren't as good as theirs. I'm just not even going to share them. You sit and maybe there's a park you go to all the time and there's people that play basketball or do an activity that you would love to join in, but you think, I can't jump in there. I'm not good enough to do this. Mm-hmm. You fear that you're not good enough. And so you miss what? Opportunities.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You miss opportunities. You miss the chance to make your life a better thing and the lives around you of other people. I think I feared for a long time in life that I wasn't funny enough. I didn't have the right things to say. And so I wasn't my pure self. And now people that know me, like when I first met Brian, I never spoke up. I never made eye contact.
She would have made eye contact with the cashiers
at the grocery store.
Like, how are you doing today? How's your job going?
People that knew me in high school, if they never would have called the shot today of who I am.
Who wouldn't want to look into those eyes?
Oh, he's so sweet. Bottom line is, it was overcoming the fear that I wasn't good enough. And it was finding people around me, surrounding myself with people like Brian that would encourage me. And then other people that I brought into my life because I liked being encouraged, and discovering the Tigger inside of me instead of the Eeyore inside of me. And just not being afraid that I wasn't enough. So I think that's super important for people to
absolutely
step away from not being good enough or comparing ourselves directly. And, we talk about this in a lot of the topics. I don't have, if you're listening to this, you wouldn't see me pick it up, but Brian has his phone next to us here. We live in a world where so much instant stuff comes at us, and we think we have to be as funny, as humorous, as whatever. I mean, even in what I'm doing to promote my book and to promote this podcast, I see all this social media and I think I can't do that. I'm not good enough to do that stuff. Whatever it is, every time I say that, I miss opportunity because I don't do it.
What comes to my mind is this is a comparison device.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So what we faced in, the 70s and 80s, we had comparison, sure, but not to the level that the kids and adults in today's world,
Absolutely.
That perfect vacation, that perfect shot, that perfect family, that perfect high school thing, that perfect vacation. Life is not perfect. But with these things, you don't see the 1,000 photos because they're not being developed and picking it up a week later. You're seeing just the perfect lighting, perfect face, perfect everything photo, and life is trying to be lived in comparing perfection. And so
it's very easy to not feel good enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we need to overcome that, and we need to realize that there is those handful of influencers out there that have that down are not the majority of the population.
No.
And just enjoy who you are and believe in who.
Be authentic.
I think you said it earlier. There's only one of you. You're put on this earth for a reason. Get out there and just be, and don't worry about being perfect, good enough for everybody else. Be the very best version of yourself and overcome that fear of that. So,
and maybe your ideas are simple, and that's okay because simplicity creates wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, you could be sitting and talking about complex issues or whatever it might be, and you might say, "Hey, check out that sunset," and that's just simple things.
Uh-huh.
You look at that flower, right? Or look at that mountain. Look at that bird in the air. Think about that.
How many times have you been sitting in a conversation and it's the quiet person that have you thought about this? And it's such a simple idea.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, no.
That's a good point.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
And they have the most wisdom because, and having a fear of not being good enough would keep them from sharing that great idea. So to wrap up today, what do we fear? What we need to do is identify our fears. And my challenge to you, I like to leave with a challenge. I didn't last episode, darn it. I just thought about that. What I really want to leave you with is to identify this week, what do you fear? And make a list of the things that come up to you that you really do fear. And then think about the ways to overcome those and find the positive and why taking some risks and putting those fears aside could make your life a much better thing. And just kind of pay attention, because I think the biggest thing in life is when we pay attention.
Yeah. I think there's ways to think about this too. If you I don't know what I fear. Maybe think internal and external. So things that are internal, are you saying things to yourself that are not positive, things that are discouraging rather than encouraging? And then it's creating doubt, which is a form of fear. Or is it external? Is it in your environment? Is it in your situation that you're in? Is it in your job? Whatever it might be. So if you can identify it, then think of it in those terms, and you might be able to come up with one or two.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you like what you're hearing, if you enjoy listening to our What's Your Mantra or Living by the Mantras podcast, we really encourage you to like it, to subscribe it. If you think of someone who might need it, share it out. That's super important. You can find my book, Living by the Mantras, anywhere books are sold, but you can go to livingbythemantras.com and you can learn more about us. You can follow
Colleen online, the Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and all those places.
Absolutely. And we really look forward to having you join us next time as we wrap up our series on Get the Job, then Learn the Job, Have No Fear. We'll talk to you later.
Have a great one.
Bye.
Bye.